Hey YouTube, gonna do a sort of Beyond the Hype here with Charizard, Dragon Breath, but this is not me playing. This is Z, who is a longtime subscriber, and I'm showcasing this for a couple reasons. One is I want to see how Dragon Breath Charizard performs, because part of me still thinks Ember is better, but I don't want to like run both, and I don't even know if I have a Dragon Breath under 1500. So just showcasing someone who is a constant legend, just to watch their ability to play will give me a good idea of how it plays. The second thing is they have a huge write up here. And I was like, oh, I don't want to read all this. But then actually what it says is basically, I want to share my team building process when using PvP Poke in hope of inspiring others to start building their own teams and not just like copying content creators that put out teams. So I'm all for that. So basically he says, I start with a Pokemon that I want to build a team around. So in this case, I chose Charizard and put it into the team building section to see what difficulties it will face in the Great League. Instead of choosing one of the recommended alternatives, so again, if those you do not use PvPoke, basically if you put in Team Builder and you run like generate team or like evaluate team, whatever it is, it will give you all your weaknesses, and then it will say here are the 15 Pokemon that will deal with your weaknesses. So what he's saying is, instead of choosing one of the so here's all your weaknesses, and here are the 15 Pokemon that beat your weaknesses. So what he's saying is, instead of choosing one of the recommended alternative picks of the 6 Pokemon that I pick out of 6 Pokemon that I think will be difficult, annoying, and come to deal with. In that case, I took Dedenne, Bastiodon, Polion, Cloudslayer, Lapras, and Azumarill. So basically he's saying, okay, I'm using Charizard. I know that, in my opinion, the top meta Pokemon that are going to be the biggest issues that I'm more likely to see in this meta are Bastiodon, Dedenne, and Polion, Carbink. I try to avoid overlapping Pokemon like Bastiodon and Carbink here, since they will almost always be weak to the same things. Bastiodon and Carbink just going to get killed by like Mud Boys and stuff. So after that, I build a team of around these 6 to check out if there is something that can do well against all of them. So the basically next thing you do is you take out your number 1 Pokemon, you take out your Charizard, and you throw in these 6 hardest answers to Charizard into the team. Because what that is going to do is it's going to pop out a Pokemon that will deal with all 6 of those. So here I found both Gastrodon and Stunfisk can handle all 6 of those Pokemon. I chose Gastrodon because it's not too weak to water like Charizard and Stunfisk. After that, I make a team on this core in the team builder and try and find a stable third. Shadow Magnus, now this is where he deviates. Shadow Magnezone doesn't really fit the description, but when I saw it show up as a potential Pokemon I couldn't resist. It doesn't show up on PvPoke, but is one of my favorites. Togedemaru, right? Togedemaru was mine. But one of my favorites, Togedemaru still does. So he's saying that like Magnezone didn't come up as an option, but Togedemaru did, and Togedemaru and Magnezone plays very, very similar roles as a Steel Electric, being able to deal with some of the weaknesses. I was positively surprised at how many teams, at least 2 Pokemon, were weak to Shadow Magnezone. But you need to be more quick on your feet with the swaps than I am in some of these scenarios. I blame it on the rest for not playing for a couple weeks. Enjoy the battles. Okay, so just thought that team building would be beneficial for people, because it is like a pretty safe plus strong way to just cover your weaknesses and then find like a balanced one. Again, this one does not have a balance. I guess you use Charizard here as your safe swap. I don't even know what you would use as your safe swap on this team, quite honestly. But again, from my perspective, I think I've already, maybe shooting this out of order, but Gastrodon I've probably already tested, and that's probably on Saturday. And whether this is Saturday afternoon or Sunday, I don't know yet. But let's look at Charizard. Again, the difference between Dragon Breath and Ember. Ember is half a turn energy faster, but 0.72 damage less. So Dragon Breath 3.6 and 4, Ember 2.88 and 4.5. When you're using Ember, you're getting to, because you have the counts here for Air Cutter and Blast Burn. When you're using Ember, it is 12, 12, 10, 12 for Blast Burn. And then Air Cutter is straight 8s across the board. So getting to the Air Cutter a little faster, getting to that first Blast Burn a little faster, and the third one a lot faster. Three turns later less. So that is the difference. So we'll see how Dragon Breath plays out while taking a look at, and maybe I'll go back to Togedemaru. I said Steel should have play in this meta, and a Steel that is also electric probably has play. But now we are against an Altaria that now has access to Flamethrower. So this is something that what would normally probably not be a shield is now a shield. And they get out into Marowak and oh my goodness. Okay, it was like half your game there just like lagged a ton. And I think we were a little slow too. So eventually get into Gastrodon. Do have the Water Pulse now. Are we just going to go straight for it? Yes, we are. If they shield and farm though, you are in pretty big trouble because they're basically going to come out with a Rock Slide. And here we go. They do shield, they do farm. They now have a move for your Magnezone. They have a Rock Slide for your Charizard. Where do you go here? And I think that's what you're trying to figure out. Trying to instant catch or wild charge. Hey, look at that. You did not lose a you did not lose a one-turn leg there. Although they will shield and go down there. They may just be able to go double Rock Slide. They farmed up a ton here, and Dragon Breath's a little slower than Ember, so they may get to a Rock Slide here. Yeah. And this will one-shot. Double super effective against a Charizard. So too slow on the swap there, but I'm sure you know that. Regidrago only has electric moves. Sorry, dragon moves. You only have mostly electric, but you do have a Mirror Shot, which is neutral. You know, they're still getting to these dragon energies in 12 here, which is going to chip quite a lot here. I don't even know if you want to take a dragon energy. If it lands, it's going to put you in like the deep red, I think. Very deep red, and you barely survive. Yeah. Shadow Magnezone, for those of you who've never used it, just hits so hard, but unfortunately not good there. And for those of you in that scenario, Wild Charge is the move there. Wild Charge does significantly, especially as a Magnezone here, with Stab. Well, I guess you get Stab on Mirror Shot too. But the difference in Wild Charge versus Mirror Shot's a 42 turn move. Wild Charge is 120. So, heck, even if Wild Charge is double resisted, I still think it does more than neutral Mirror Shot. The only reason you're throwing Mirror Shot is if you want to just not, because Wild Charge lowers your defense times 2. But if you have one move left, or you're only going to get one move off to chip, Wild Charge is the way to go there. Okay, but we got a little head on the Dragon Breath damage. Yes, they may have a Water Pulse here, which we need to worry about, but Mud Slap is resisted. They do shield the Air Cutter, and we do get the attack rise. So Air Cutter, 30% chance of boosting your attack. And that's maybe one other reason why you potentially I didn't even think about that perspective. So they baited you and then threw pretty fast. So this is just another Body Slam. But Charizard's pretty glassy. I didn't even think about that perspective. Air Cutter does have a chance to boost your attack. And if you're boosting an Ember, that doesn't do as much. It's maybe not as valuable. Do get off a Blast Burn there. Again, Blast Burn, much like Wild Charge, is going to be better resisted than your other move. Blast Burn resisted, better than Air Cutter. Wild Charge resisted, better than Mirror Shot. So, yes, we're fine there. Getting to the Water Pulse here. Maybe they were still counting on your Earth Power, because Earth Power is a little slower to get to than Water Pulse. So Water Pulse looks a little better there. Okay, weak to Fire here. Probably, ooh, no, we won't instant swap. So, again, the thought process on that is you can't come Gastrodon right away. They're going to have an answer for Gastrodon. Charizard has a terrible matchup here, so you can't come there. So you have to stay in, Blast Burn, align here. If they get out, then you can get out if you want. Opting to stay in, take these double super effective Bullet Seeds, and to get the Water Pulse. I don't like this. You essentially just did the worst of both. You took the super effective Bullet Seeds on the Mud Boy, and then came in to where you would take a double super effective Rock Tomb. So I don't think you even... I know what you're worried about. You're worried about if you come in here and try and go Dragon Breath Blast Burn, you're just not going to be able to take it out. So you wanted to chip with Water Pulse. I think you just have to come in immediately anyways, because now you're locked. They throw right away, which is not the worst. Hope you can slap it down before getting Rock Tomb, because now you're left with one Pokemon and you cannot reset here. Crap. So not only are you going to take the hit, which will chip here, it's going to lower your attack, and then you can't reset. So that is a brutal combo, and they still probably have an answer for this in the back. Because why wouldn't they? Yeah, 100% you have an answer in the back if you're running Make Her Go in the front. Okay, terrible lead again. This time just going straight mirror match. in the assumptions that they do not have an answer. Going for Body Slam, and you're going, I feel like Water Pulse would take you into slap range, but I'm not positive, honestly. And they throw Body Slam too, so we will not find out. 3 attack not coming through there. We're going to lose CMP and go down there. So worst combo. You can let the clock go and come Charizard and Dragon Breath down all the way. And they will not allow you to. Coming in with the Dedenne, I think it's an instant Blast Burn and then instant swap here where you're resisting everything. And they don't shield. I mean, it's not a bad non-shield by them, honestly. If they're just basically sacrificing this and knowing that you're probably going to get out, they're going to try and lock you and then maybe have an answer in the back. Hackmo. So yeah, Hackmo, I don't know if that's an amazing answer, but they know Volt Switch is resisted, so they are just coming in here trying to get ahead on energy. And yes, this is the play. If you only have one move, you throw the nuke, because it will do that. So they eventually give up Switch. Gastron's going to come back in to try and get some farm. I think you have to shield. The problem is now they really did farm on Como, so they may be very close to 2 moves. But I don't think they had a choice. Air Cutter to try and boost your attack or just try to damage. Yeah, it's going to be close. They may be at 2 moves or they're like 1 Dragon Tail short of 2 moves. Okay, looks like they're 1 Dragon Tail short of 2 moves. So do take it down with Dragon Breath. Yeah, I don't think there's a point. Even trying to boost your attack with Air Cutter just gives them an extra little bit of energy, which it costs you. Okay, Blastoise, great lead. They're staying in. They will get to a, especially with that over farm there, get to a wild Hydro Cannon, which we most definitely do not want to take. And they eventually come in Talonflame. Oh my goodness. So I guess the positive here is this is going to grab a shield, but then we're going to have to instant swap. Oh, looked like that Incinerate did register, despite the no. And again, I guess the 1 turn is fixed here, because that would be a very risky last season. Because if you came in and tried to throw right on 9 there, they would have gotten a full Incinerate through, because you would have got a 1 turn leg and then it would have been a 10 and they would have got the full Incinerate through. But the game actually working like it's supposed to this season for some reason. Blastoise has another move, going to shield, maybe reading like Double Flyer, or just thinking that a Wild Charge is going to do pretty well no matter what. Although Double Flyer would be very weird. Primeape though, if they did not get the Cry Chop off, I think you're at 2 moves. But one of those moves is just a mirror shot. But it's still going to chip. And I don't think a close combat even attack fall too. That's huge. I was going to say, I don't even think a close combat 1-shot to Gastrodon, even if you didn't get the attack fall. So I think you probably could have lived here. And they're trying to Rage Fist boost, and that's not going to work. And having the resisted Water Pulse. I mean, I think any move would have taken out. Would a resisted Water Pulse... Is a resisted Water Pulse also one of those that is better than a non-stat Body Slam? I think it'll be closer. 96 damage for Water Pulse, 55 for Body Slam. So take off like, what, 20% damage? Yeah, you may be better going Water Pulse if you're only going to get 1 move off. Full of these Pokemon that are better potentially just with the charge move. Like it's one of those like superior. Throw the resisted Frenzy. That's better than the non-stab Aerial Ace. Man, those Karate Chops are really adding up on Charizard. You did live 1 Rage Fist, which was nice. But yeah, these things are really adding up here for being resisted. And on a non-Shadow Charizard at that. So going to be taken down here. Didn't get a move off. Going to come Magnezone, but this Hydro Cannon, you're going to have to shield here. You still have an answer for this in Gastrodon, so if they come in with something else, and Salamence is a very random something else, I mean, early days here. Grabbing that shield right away, you need to try to get this off. Yeah, it's going to be close. Brutal Swing does take you out. Can you get to a Body Slam before they get to a move here? And now you don't even have a move for the Empoleon. So if this lands, it's going to chip. chip is an understatement. Almost takes you out, and you wouldn't have even had any moves to throw at Empoleon anyways. Okay, so they get out into a Mudboy. Again, getting that extra Volt Switch through, it just really hurts there. Not only because it took you down a ton on Magnezone, but now it's an easy Rock Slide here that you have to shield. Do you go straight for Blast Burn? Nope. Going for the bait. Yeah, it should still be okay, but man, if they call this and get another move off. Yeah, so you're going to have to throw another one, yeah. Can throw another Air Cutter, but they're just, well, because you didn't knock it out the first time. Now they're at another Rock Slide, so now you need to determine whether you want to burn the second shield to keep this alive. The answer is no. Again, slow on the swap there. And they get out immediately. Why would they give up Switch? I mean, you're pretty low here. But why would they give up Switch? That seems fast. But maybe one on the snipe. One or two on the snipe. 4-turn move. You needed a couple there. So maybe it's enough. But there should be locked. Charizard comes in. Going straight Water Pulse. Hoping that you can just outpace to the second Water Pulse. Or they don't shield. They do shield. Can you outpace to the second Water Pulse? No. Yes. The answer is yes. Holy smokes. And that does one shot. And Mud Slap down. CMP. 1 HP win. Look at that. Another Blastoise. So we've seen this. We know we can just stay in this matchup to shield a Hydro. Did get the full extra Volt Switch through there. So that's pretty big. Because now they're going to take another. You can go 2 and then throw a Mirror Shot. No. Why would you? I thought you just do the 8 versus 9 and then Mirror Shot it out of here as opposed to double shielding here. Because if they have a ground, you're in pretty big trouble. Magmar comes in, so going to bait here, thinking that they'll shield up a Wild Charge, and they do, so you're going to get another one back here. And potentially 3. Not 3, there's no... It's not that many shields in the game, but you potentially will get 3 moves off with double baits there. Okay. So it worked. I don't know if that's a move I would do. I think early in the season, you can get away with that. I think later in the season, maybe not. Like your back Pokemon might not, your opponent might not have a Malamar that they double shield in the back here. I think you just take that Blastoise out so you don't put yourself in the situation where you're double down, like down 2 shields. But I get it. Magnezone just nukes, and if they don't have an answer for it, then you're okay. Greninja. So these Hydros are going to come very fast. Dragon Breath Air Cutter is neutral. I think this is just where, and you get the attack, so you're definitely going to take Switch if you want now. You can just double shield. I think this is where the non-shadow, 145 Shadow Charizard versus 190. Yeah, it feels like the non-shadow just does not play very well. It's an easy double shield. You already grabbed 1 shield. Take Switch. Your attack's boosted. You'll come out with energy. Just go Blast Burn if you're only going to get to 1. But going Air Cutter thinking that we're going to get to 2. Again, if you're only going to get to 1 move, I think you just go Blast Burn there. But you do grab a shield. Not that it matters, right? Torch Song boosts their attack, but for Mudboy here, Shadow Ball will still hurt. They just boosted a Shadow Ball, which will take this to like the yellow. The red, holy smokes. And Ferrothorn comes in. Power Whip's going to hurt. You'll live 1 Power Whip. And then going to go what? 1 more and then Wild Charge Mirror Coat here. Mirror Shot. What is it? Mirror Shot or Mirror Coat? Mirror Shot. Not enough to take out. And you gotta hope a super effective, double super effective Bull Seed does not take out here. But I think it. Oh, you have a move. That's one way to do it. Getting to the Body Slam, not getting the 1-turn leg because a 1-turn leg would have cost you there. And do go down anyways. But still, It's nice. I've noticed that in my games and it's seen it here. It's nice that the one turn leg seems to be fixed. Knock on wood. Okay, safe swapping into Gastrodon. Yes, Gastrodon is a very risky safe swap. You get hit with a water Pokemon, grass Pokemon. You are in big trouble here. They do eventually come Charizard. They did chip with Primeape. May shield this and then just out air cutter you. Nope. They decide to call that you don't have a water pulse or forget that you don't have a water pulse. At this point, you let go and just come Charizard. And they're locked too because they just swapped instantly out of rage. So quick swap here into while they are locked. You're probably going to have to shield though. Don't want to take a boosted Rage Fist from a Shadow Primeape here. Yeah, but because they came in too fast, they're locked. And it is Empoleon, so going immediately here. At this point, it is just a fast move damage team. I think you shield and just try and Volt Switch. Try and get that to land. If not, force them to throw here. Yeah, just leave that to land and take them out. Okay. Yeah, Gastrodon. Would I run this team? Probably not. I understand Charizard and Gastrodon are pretty good covering of each other. Talonflame and same thing. Mud Boys are generally fine. You need to Charizard being double weak to rock. Cover that rock weakness, and Gastrodon makes sense. Magnezone, I wouldn't use. It's very, very glassy. I love using Togedemaru. You don't get as much damage, but you don't don't need to worry about all the shields. And that's why, I understand using Shadow Magnezone and a Shadow Charizard, you would need 2 of shields for each of them. So I don't think you can actually use that team together. So non-Shadow Charizard makes a little bit of sense here. Charizard, there's always been a few Pokemon where it just made sense that with the move they had and how sort of glassier they are to begin with, it just made sense for a Shadow. And Charizard has sort of always been one of those. Do Shadows matter for the most part? No. You can see in the rankings with Empoleon 3 versus 4, they play a bit different, but for the most part, you can use either or. I think why it makes a difference and why the rankings are different here is Shadow Charizard. So I'll tell you why. I'll show you why, in my opinion, the Shadow matters here. With the Dragon Breath, you don't get same type attack bonus, so it's a 3 damage 4 energy move. So you do not get. We just saw it on Togekiss with the Peck, and we just saw it on Empoleon with the Metal Sound. With same type attack bonus, those 3 damage per turn rises to 3.6 damage per turn, and it becomes even more when you add Shadow on. So Dragon Breath, you do not get same type attack bonus on, but you do get that 20% Shadow bonus here. So your Dragon Breath becomes 3.6. At the same time, more importantly, that Blast Burn becomes 158.4. So all of a sudden, if you're throwing a 158 damage move, in of itself won't one-shot everything, but unless it's a super, super, super bulky Pokemon, thinking your Clodsires and your Dusclops and stuff like that, for the most part, any sort of less bulky Pokemon, if you're throwing a 158.4 move from a Shadow where your attack is boosted from a 132 to add on 26, looking at almost 160 attack here. The 160 attack with 158.4 damage and the 3.6 damage per turn is more or less going to one-shot everything in the meta. I don't think you can say the same for Blast Burn on the non-Shadow Charizard, because you only have the 3 damage per turn on the Dragon Breath, and your Blast Burn only does 132. 132 is not going to one-shot the majority of things. 132 is only 12 more damage than your Dragon Energy. And we know Dragon Energy will not one-shot majority of things, right? So I think you have to run. I always say, when does Shadow matter? Shadow matters when you can now throw 1 less charge move to take it out. And I think that Charizard is a prime example of the Shadow damage with the fast move and the charge move is enough to take it out in 1 for a lot of things when it is not enough to take it out in 1 with the non-Shadow. And I think that's what you're seeing, why the ranking is so different. And I think that's probably why you are seeing it recommending Dragon Breath. Because if you run Ember, yes, you're getting to the Blast Burns quicker, but giving up that 0.72 damage makes me wonder if you're now not taking out Pokemon with the fast move anymore, and you may need a charge move. So I think that's where the difference may be with the Ember versus the Dragon Breath. But I'd have to test out both to know for sure, but it's nice to see the Dragon Breath in action here. And those are my thoughts on Charizard. Anyways, Charizard should have play. It's ranked 145 as a Shadow, 190 as the non-Shadow. I kind of just went over why I think Shadow would be better. Should it have play? It's going to have... does Talonflame have play? Yes, then Charizard should have play for the same reason. I think the Fire Flying typing, although being double weak to Rock and Electric and single weak to Electric and Water, which is obviously an issue in this meta, I think flying alone helps it. And I kind of mentioned that with the Togekiss. This meta had just dropped flyers substantially. Mandibuzz, first of all, there's more Rock, so you need to be more worried about Rock in general. And now there's more Fairy, so your dark flying Pokemon like Mandibuzz and Galarian Moltres are now out too. So suddenly we just lost like 3 flyers, and there's only like 5 or 6 in the meta to begin with. So being able to have that flyer that can deal with the grounds and can deal with the fighters, I think that is very valuable as a typing. So I think just based on the Blast Burn alone and the typing, Charizard should have play in the meta. Again, a little glassy, not a little glassy, it's pretty glassy. Non-stab on the Dragon Breath, which may hurt you a little sometimes. You get stab on Ember, but it's still only 2.8 to 8 damage per turn. So yeah, I think it'll have play. I think people may just default to Talonflame, but maybe not. Maybe people will enjoy how fast you get to Blast Burn here and just run with that. So we shall see. I'm going to do a meta-analysis on Monday, 1 weekend meta-analysis. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.